Money a Love Story. Untangle your financial woes and create the life you really want. Written by Kate Northrup. Summarized by Detailed Book Summaries. Don't forget to subscribe. Chapter 1. What's love got to do with it? Have you ever thought about money as something you could love? Not just manage, not just survive, not just chase, but love. I know, it sounds a little strange at first, doesn't it? But pause for a second and ask yourself, when was the last time you looked at your bank account with gratitude? Or treated your budget like it was a form of self-care instead of self-punishment? For most of us, money isn't wrapped in warmth. It's tied up with tension, anxiety, and guilt. But what if I told you that your financial life is not about how much you make or how smart you are? It's about how deeply you value yourself. That's exactly where Kate Northrup begins, with a question that turns the entire conversation on its head. What does love have to do with money? The answer, as it turns out, is everything. Kate starts by sharing her own story, not from a pedestal of financial perfection, but from a place of vulnerability. She had a background in finance. She came from a successful family. She knew all the right things to do. And yet, she found herself $20,000 in credit card debt, ducking calls from collectors, and avoiding her bank account like it was a haunted house. Not because she didn't know better, but because she didn't feel better. Because deep down, there was a voice whispering, "You're not worthy of wealth. You don't deserve to be free." And that's where the real truth begins to unfold. Kate makes one of the boldest declarations in the entire book, right here in Chapter 1. Your relationship with money mirrors your relationship with yourself. It's not about the dollars. It's not about the debt. It's about you. It's about your patterns, your beliefs, your emotional history, and ultimately, how much love you're willing to extend to the person in the mirror. So think about it. Do you avoid opening your bills because they make your chest tighten? Do you spend impulsively to feel better in the moment, only to feel shame afterward? Do you believe that money always runs out, no matter how much you earn? These aren't just behavioral issues. They're emotional ones. These are symptoms of an internal story, one that probably began long ago, passed down through family conversations, cultural norms, or unspoken fears. Kate encourages us to look back, not to blame, but to understand. What messages did you pick up about money as a child? Did you hear your parents fight about it? Was it scarce? Was it taboo to talk about? Or maybe it was used as a tool for control, given and taken as a way to show power or affection. Whatever your personal money story is, Kate wants you to know this. You didn't create it on your own, and you don't have to keep it. This chapter is a permission slip, a warm, gentle invitation to stop running, to stop hiding, to stop punishing yourself for not having it all figured out. Because shame doesn't create change. Love does. And the most important financial decision you can make, it's not about stocks or savings. It's about deciding right now that you're worth taking care of, that your future is worth facing. Your money deserves your attention, not because it defines your value, but because you are valuable. From there, Kate gently leads us into awareness. She says it's the first and most essential step. Not budgeting, not saving, just seeing, just acknowledging what is without judgment. Awareness is about turning on the lights in the dark corners of your financial life and saying, okay, here we are. Let's begin. Because until you're willing to look, you'll never feel in control. And once you do look, you'll find that your fears are often worse than the reality. And if you're wondering how to begin this journey of awareness, Kate gives you a starting point. Write your money love story, just as it is today. Tell the truth. Where you've been, what you've learned, how you feel. Don't pretty it up. Let it be messy. Let's be honest. Because once you can see your story clearly, you can begin to change it. You can revise the script. That's what this first chapter is truly about, beginning again. Not with a financial plan, but with a shift in perspective. With grace, with curiosity, with self-compassion. Kate reminds us that the path to freedom isn't paved with guilt or spreadsheets. It's paved with kindness. It's choosing every day to treat your money like a sacred partner in your life rather than a monster under the bed. Because when you finally turn toward your finances with open eyes and a willing heart, something beautiful happens. You start to see not just numbers, but needs. Not just balances, but beliefs. You see how often you've tried to earn love by overgiving, or hide pain by overspending. You see how money has been carrying the weight of emotions it was never meant to hold, and you begin to forgive yourself for all of it. So, what does love have to do with money? Everything. Because love brings us back to ourselves. It reminds us that we are not broken, that we are not behind, that we are not doomed to repeat the past. We are learning, we are growing. And now, we are choosing a new way forward, one that is rooted not in fear, but in worth. And with that, we're ready to turn the page, to look deeper, to ask the next big question. If love is the foundation of financial freedom, what else have we misunderstood about money? In the next chapter, Kate reveals a surprising truth. It's not even about the money. Not really. And once you understand what it is about, everything starts to shift. Let's go there next. Chapter 2. It's not about the money. So here, where things get a little unexpected, just when you've begun to settle into the idea that your financial problems might be solved by love, not spreadsheets, Kate drops a bombshell. It's not even about the money. And you pause. Wait, what? Wasn't this book supposed to help fix your finances? To help you pay off debt, save more, and feel less anxious about the future. And now you're being told it's not even about the money. Exactly. Because what Kate wants you to realize is that money is rarely the core issue. It's the mirror, the magnifier, the screen we project all of our inner stories onto. The truth is, when we say we want more money, what we want is something else. We want freedom, or peace, or validation, or joy. We want to feel safe, secure, and seen. We want time. We want to be loved. But somewhere along the way, we got this idea that money was the thing that would deliver it all. That if we could just earn more, save more, or get that one break, then we'd finally feel the way we want to feel. But it's not about the money. And it never has been. Kate dives deeper into the emotional roots of our financial behaviors. She asks you to look not just at your spending, but at what's underneath it. What are you buying when you swipe your card or click add to cart? Is it status? Is it comfortable? Is it relief from boredom or loneliness? And when you don't look at your finances, when you avoid your bills, or let unopened envelopes pile up on the counter, what are you trying not to feel? It's powerful, this unraveling. Because suddenly, your money habits start to look less like flaws and more like signals, messages from the deeper parts of you, pointing toward unmet needs, unresolved stories, or lingering fears. You begin to see that your financial life is deeply emotional, deeply spiritual, and incredibly intimate. Kate invites you to examine your early experiences with money, not from a place of blame, but from curiosity. What did money feel like in your childhood home? Was it tense? Was it abundant, but never talked about? Was it used to control, reward, or punish? Maybe your parents worked hard, but were always exhausted. Maybe you heard things like money doesn't grow on trees, or rich people are greedy. Those phrases stick. They settle into your nervous system like background noise, shaping the way you think, act, and feel about money, often without you even realizing it. And here's the thing, most of us never stop to question those stories. We just inherit them, we love them, and then we pass them on. But what if you could pause? What if you could hold those beliefs up to the light and ask, is this true for me? Is this the story I want to keep living? That's where transformation begins, not in the numbers, but in the narrative. So Kate nudges you, gently but firmly, to become the author of your own financial story. To notice where you're operating on autopilot. To pay attention to the choices you're making and ask, are these truly my choices? Or are they reactions, adaptations, echoes of someone else's fears? It's a powerful moment when you realize that you have permission to rewire everything, to redefine what success, wealth, and security mean to you. You don't have to chase someone else's version of abundance. You get to choose. And that kind of freedom, it's worth more than any dollar amount in your account. As you listen to Kate's voice in this chapter, it starts to feel less like a lecture and more like a mirror. You see yourself in her stories. You recognize the times you stayed in a job too long because you were afraid of not having enough. The moments you said yes to things you didn't want to do because of guilt or scarcity. The ways you've used money, or the lack of it, as a measure of your worth. And slowly, with each layer peeled back, you begin to understand. Money isn't the villain. It's not the goal either. It's just energy, a tool, a teacher. And the more you treat it that way with respect, attention, and love, the more it starts to work for you instead of against you. There's a tenderness in this chapter, an undercurrent of compassion that runs through every word. Kate knows what it's like to feel small in the face of your financial reality. She lived the fear, the guilt, the shame. And she's not interested in fixing you. She's interested in helping you see honestly and with love. Because once you see that money is just a symbol, a stand-in for what you want, you can stop giving it so much power. You can stop chasing it, fearing it, and obsessing over it. You can start listening to what your heart is asking for. And from that place of clarity, you can begin to create change, not from fear, not from desperation, but from a deep, grounded sense of knowing who you are and what matters most. So no, it's not about the money. It's about trust. It's about freedom. It's about feeling safe in your body and in your life. It's about knowing that you are worthy not because of your income, not because of your credit score, but simply because you exist. And as this chapter draws to close, you're left with a quiet sense of possibility. The shift is already happening. You're seeing things differently. And you're starting to feel the truth of Kate's words settle into your bones. Your money story can change, because it's never been about the money. It's about you. And you are ready. Chapter 3. Woo-woo meets cha-ching. There's a certain moment in the journey of healing your relationship with money when things start to feel different. You've begun the work. You're looking inward. You've faced the emotional roots of your financial story and started shifting the lens from shame to self-love. But then something nudges you. A deeper question. A tug that says, is there more to this than just habits and spreadsheets? Is something else, something less tangible at play here? And that's when Kate Northrup walks you right into Chapter 3, Woo-woo meets cha-ching. Now, before you roll your eyes at the phrase woo-woo, just breathe, because Kate knows. She knows that for many people, the spiritual world and the financial world seem like oil and water. One is all about alignment, energy, and manifestation. The other is about numbers, strategy, and reality. And yet, what if the key to real abundance is learning to hold both? What if healing your finances isn't just about what you do, but also what you believe? Kate opens this chapter by talking about vibration. Yes, vibration. She introduces the idea that everything in the universe, including money, has energy, and that we, as human beings, are constantly broadcasting energy too. Our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, they all carry a frequency. When we live in fear, scarcity, or unworthiness, that's the frequency we emit. And money, well, it responds to that energy. Now, this isn't some mystical wish for it, and it shows up concept. Kate is careful to ground these ideas. She's not talking about magic. She's talking about alignment, about how your inner world creates your outer results, about how money flows when you're in sync with your truth, and how it resists you when you're out of integrity with yourself. So, she asks the deeper questions. What kind of energy are you sending out around money? Are you anxious, afraid, desperate? Or are you calm, trusting, grateful? Because money tends to flow toward clarity, purpose, and openness. It stagnates in environments of fear and control. Kate then brings in the idea of manifestation, not as a shortcut, but as a practice, a way of aligning your inner thoughts and emotions with your desired financial reality. She doesn't tell you to sit on your couch and visualize your way to millions. What she does say is this: when you begin to see money as an extension of your energy, everything changes. If you constantly affirm to yourself, I'm broke, I'm bad with money, or I'll never get out of debt, that becomes your emotional reality, and eventually, your financial one too. The world reflects what you believe to be true. So Kate challenges you to become aware of your inner dialogue. She invites you to shift from old, self-sabotaging scripts to ones that are grounded in love, possibility, and truth. Try whispering instead, money flows to me with ease, or I am a magnet for aligned abundance, or even I am open to receiving. And yes, in the beginning, it might feel silly, foreign, maybe even fake. But over time, this rewiring starts to feel natural. Not because you're pretending, but because you're finally speaking from a place of worth. One of the most important things Kate teaches in this chapter is that receiving is just as spiritual as giving. Many of us, especially women, have been conditioned to give and give and give, while struggling to accept anything in return. Compliments, support, money. We've learned to feel guilty about receiving, as though it makes us selfish, or needy, or weak. But here's the truth. You can't give from an empty cup. You can't be a channel for generosity, creativity, or love if you're constantly depleted. So learning to receive, to truly open your heart to abundance, isn't selfish. It's sacred. It's part of the divine exchange. Kate encourages you to start small. Practice receiving in everyday moments. Say thank you when someone compliments you instead of deflecting. Allow someone to help you without apologizing. Breathe in the feeling of being supported, even if it's just for a second. These tiny shifts begin to soften the walls we've built around our ability to attract abundance. And then there's the money itself. Kate urges you to stop treating money like an enemy or a stranger. Instead, she says, imagine money as a relationship. What kind of relationship do you have with it right now? Do you ignore it, yell at it, fear it, try to control it? Now imagine how that relationship would change if you treated money the way you'd treat a beloved friend or partner, with respect, with presence, with affection. If money were a person, how would it respond to the way you've been treating it? That metaphor lands hard, because suddenly the guilt, the fear, the avoidance, they all feel human, understandable. You've just never been taught how to build a loving relationship with your finances. Until now. As the chapter deepens, Kate doesn't shy away from the woo. She leans in gently but powerfully. She introduces you to the concept of setting intentions with money, of using rituals, journaling, affirmations, visualization, not as fluffy feel-good exercises, but as real tools for changing your emotional frequency. Tools for telling the universe, I'm ready. But she never disconnects from the practical. She reminds you that energy and action go hand in hand. Yes, set the intention. Yes, shift your vibration. But also take the next aligned step. Make the phone call. Open the bill. Create the plan. Spiritual work doesn't replace action. It fuels it. It clears the fog, so your action is effective and aligned. The most radical idea that unfolds in this chapter is this: you can be both spiritual and wealthy. You can be grounded in love and also deeply abundant. You don't have to choose. The world needs more conscious, heart-centered people who are also financially empowered. Because money, in the hands of those with wisdom, becomes a force for healing, for justice, for change. By the time this chapter ends, something has shifted. You feel it in your body. That old narrative that money is hard, dirty, or disconnected from your inner world, it's crumbling. And in its place, a new story begins to form. One where you're allowed to feel good about money. One where spirituality and prosperity walk hand in hand. One where your worth is never in question, and your ability to receive is a sacred act of courage. This is the place where woo-woo meets cha-ching. And from here, your money story becomes not just a journey of healing, but of power, purpose, and profound joy. Chapter 4. You've got you, babe. There comes a moment, sometimes subtle, sometimes shattering, when you realize no one is coming to save you. Not your parents, not your partner, not your boss or the government or some windfall you keep daydreaming about. Just you. That's not a sad moment, though it might feel heavy at first. It's a moment of awakening, of power. Because when you stop waiting for someone else to make you feel safe, free, or worthy, something shifts inside you. And that's exactly where this chapter begins, with the realization that you are your hero. You've got you. Kate Northrup walks into this truth with both softness and certainty. She knows what it's like to look outside of yourself for financial security, to wait for the right man, the right opportunity, the right moment. She shares her journey, how she used to believe that one day someone would swoop in and handle everything for her. A prince, a paycheck, a miracle. But over time, and with some painful lessons, she realized that no one was more capable of rescuing her than herself. That realization is not always easy. Many of us were raised in systems, families, and stories that taught us to wait, to defer our power. Maybe it was cultural. Maybe it was religious. Maybe it was just the unspoken rules in your home growing up. Be polite. Don't ask for too much. Don't talk about money. Be grateful for what you have. Let someone else be the provider. Don't make waves. But what happens when the provider doesn't come? What happens when life demands more from you, when the bills pile up, the job falls through, the support system cracks? That's when the old stories stop working. That's when you're forced to look in the mirror and ask, what if I'm the one I've been waiting for? And here's the truth, you are. This chapter isn't about becoming a lone wolf or pretending you don't need anyone. It's about something deeper, more grounded. It's about developing self-trust, the kind that doesn't waver when things get hard, the kind that says, I may not have all the answers, but I trust myself to figure it out. Kate talks about how most of us have handed our power over to other people, sometimes without even knowing it. We let others define our value. We expect them to handle our money. We make ourselves small to avoid conflict or abandonment. But here's the problem with outsourcing your power. It creates dependence. And dependence creates resentment. And resentment eventually creates disconnection, not just from others, but from yourself. So what do you do instead? You start to reclaim the parts of you that you gave away. You begin to own your choices, financial and otherwise. You stop waiting for someone else to approve, validate, or rescue you. You look at your life, not with blame, but with ownership. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what can I do from here? That's the turning point. Because when you realize that you can choose, always, you begin to feel free. You can choose to look at your finances with clarity instead of fear. You can choose to speak up about what you need. You can choose to say no. You can choose to earn more. You can choose to build a life that honors your values, even if it doesn't look like what anyone else expects. Kate doesn't sugarcoat this. She knows it's not always easy to stand on your own 2 feet, especially if you've never been taught how. But she also reminds us that self-reliance is not the same as isolation. You don't have to do everything alone. You just have to remember that you're capable, that you are the foundation of your life, that any support you receive from others is a bonus, not a requirement for your survival. And from there, something radical happens. You begin to feel safe, not because of your circumstances, but because you trust your ability to respond to them. That's real security, not a padded savings account, though that's nice too, but the deep, unshakable knowing that you've got your own back. One of the most powerful ideas in this chapter is that your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship in your life, including your relationship with money. If you treat yourself with kindness, money follows. If you trust yourself to make decisions, money responds. If you believe in your worth, money becomes a tool to support it. Kate invites you to stop apologizing for wanting more, to stop shrinking to be loved or accepted, to stop pretending that you don't care about money when, in fact, it's deeply tied to your ability to live the life you dream of. Because wanting more isn't greedy, it's human, and it's okay to want to feel secure. It's okay to want freedom. It's okay to want beauty, joy, and choice. And no, you don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait for your debt to be paid off. You don't have to wait for the perfect plan. You can begin right here, right now, with one new choice, one act of self-respect, one moment of clarity. By the end of this chapter, there's a quiet power that settles in, a sense of responsibility, yes, but also pride. You begin to see yourself differently, not as someone who's broken or behind, but as someone who's waking up, someone who's stepping into her life with open eyes and open hands. You realize that the love you've been seeking from others, you can give it to yourself. Safety, you can create it. Freedom, you can earn it. You are not a victim of your financial story. You are the author of it. And when you root into that truth, when you stop looking outward and start standing tall in your own life, you'll discover something Kate knows for sure. You've got you, babe. And that's more than enough. Chapter 5. What can you do to pay attention? There's a moment in every transformation when the fog begins to lift. You've faced the old stories. You've stopped waiting for someone else to save you. You've begun to rewrite your relationship with money from the inside out. And now comes the part that, for many people, is the most uncomfortable of all, not because it's hard, but because it's honest. It's the part where you have to look at what's coming in, what's going out, and where your energy is leaking. Kate Northrup opens this chapter with a question that lands like a gentle but firm hand on your shoulder. What are you paying attention to? Not what you wish you were focusing on, not what you think you should be doing, but what your calendar, your bank statement, your inbox, and your body say you're giving your life to. Because where your attention goes, your life flows, and your money is no exception. Most of us aren't avoiding our finances because we're lazy or irresponsible. We're avoiding them because we're afraid of what we'll find, afraid of what it means, afraid of what will have to change. So we stay distracted. We scroll. We shop. We multitask. We fill our lives with noise so we don't have to feel the discomfort of clarity. But clarity is where the healing begins. Kate gently challenges you to get honest about your relationship with attention. What are you ignoring? What are you procrastinating? What are you tolerating that's draining your energy, time, or money? She shares her own story here the moment she realized that she had no idea how much money she was spending. She wasn't budgeting. She wasn't tracking. She was winging it, and the result was debt, stress, and anxiety that lingered in the background of her life like static. So she made a decision to start paying attention, not from fear, but from love, not as a punishment, but as an act of devotion. Because when you love something, when you value it, you pay attention to it. You show up. You take care of it. Kate introduces a radical concept here. Money loves clarity. It loves direction. It loves to be told where to go. When you're vague, you get confused. When you're clear, it flows. And that's why this chapter is about more than just tracking your expenses. It's about reclaiming your power through presence. She asks you to stop guessing and start knowing. To look at your numbers. What's your income? What are your fixed expenses? How much are you spending on food, on rent, on subscriptions you forgot you even had? And most importantly, how do you feel when you spend money? Empowered, guilty, indifferent? Because every transaction tells a story. Every dollar you spend is a reflection of your values or your unconscious patterns. Kate encourages you to begin a daily or weekly money check-in. Just 15 minutes. Look at your accounts. Look at your spending. Notice what's working and what's not. Breathe through the discomfort. Let yourself feel the truth of your choices, not to judge yourself, but to build trust. Because the more you pay attention, the more empowered you become. And empowerment isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about knowing what's happening in your financial life, so you can make choices that serve your highest good. It's about taking back the reins, not so you can control every penny, but so you can be in a relationship with your money instead of avoiding it. Kate brings in the idea of energetic leaks, those places in our lives where attention, time, and money are being drained without us even realizing it. Maybe it's the clutter in your house that creates stress. Maybe it's the unspoken resentment in a relationship. Maybe it's the unpaid bills sitting in a drawer, whispering shame into your nervous system. These leaks aren't always obvious, but they weigh on us. And when we clean them up, not all at once, but gradually, we create space for energy and abundance to flow more freely. This chapter invites you to become a steward of your energy, to notice where you're leaking attention, to practice choosing what you focus on with intention. Because if you want to create more wealth, more joy, more freedom, you have to start by focusing on the things that matter. And that includes your emotions. Kate reminds us that paying attention to your money also means paying attention to your feelings about money. If you feel anxious every time you check your bank account, that's a message. If you feel relief when you buy something new, that's a message. If you feel resentment when you pay your bills, that's a message. These feelings aren't wrong. They're invitations to go deeper, to get curious, to heal. So, rather than numbing out or pushing through, Kate encourages you to sit with it, to name what you feel, to breathe into it, because on the other side of that discomfort is clarity. And clarity is the doorway to change. By the time this chapter ends, you're not being told what to do, you're being reminded of what you already know. That attention is the most valuable currency you have. And when you invest it with intention, everything shifts. You start to see where your money's going. You start to notice the gaps, the patterns, the hidden leaks. And from there, you can make new choices that honor your values, your worth, and your future. You start to see money not as a problem to solve, but as a relationship to tend. A mirror that reflects how much presence and love you're willing to bring into your life. Because ultimately, paying attention is an act of self-respect, of self-trust, of love. And it's through that loving attention, one moment at a time, that your new money story begins to take root. Chapter 6. What's the big picture? There comes a point on this journey where you've peeled back enough layers, looked at enough patterns, and felt enough of the old weight that you start to ask a new kind of question, not what's wrong with me, or how do I fix this, but something more powerful, more visionary. What am I trying to create? This is where chapter 6 begins, with the invitation to step back and see the big picture, not just of your finances, but of your life. Because once you start paying attention, once you stop running from your money story and start rewriting it, you open space to ask the questions that matter. Not just how much you're spending, but what are you spending it on? Not just what you're earning, but what kind of life is that income building for you? Kate Northrup meets you here with clarity and warmth. She knows that so many people walk around in a fog of financial anxiety, reacting to bills, scrambling to meet deadlines, stuck in survival mode. But she also knows that real empowerment doesn't live in the details alone. It lives in vision, on purpose, in knowing why you're doing all of this in the first place. So she asks you, gently but directly, what does abundance mean to you? Not what Instagram says, not what your family expects, not what society's definition looks like, but you, your unique picture, your dreams, your values, the way you want to feel in your body, in your home, in your bank account, in your time. And here's the catch, most people have never paused to define it. We chase more, we chase better. We chase approval or status or security without ever stopping to ask, does this align with the life I want? We climb ladders without checking if the wall we're leaning on leads anywhere we want to go. That's why this chapter matters so much. Kate is here to help you reframe success, not as a number, but as a feeling. She encourages you to tune in to what makes you feel rich. Is it spacious in your day? Is it the ability to work from anywhere? Is it healthy food, or giving generously, or being debt-free? Is it freedom to travel, or the quiet joy of being home? Abundance is not one size fits all. And if you don't define it for yourself, someone else will. Kate invites you to zoom out and look at the emotional terrain of your life. Because true wealth isn't just about dollars. It's about time, energy, fulfillment, joy. And sometimes, chasing more money without a bigger vision leads to less of those things, not more. You get stuck in the grind. You earn more but feel just as stressed. You keep saying, I'll enjoy my life when, but that when never comes. So she flips the script. Start with the feeling. Start with what you want your days to look like, your mornings, your relationships, your health, your creativity. Then ask, how does money support that? Where does it need to shift? Kate shares her own story, how she went from grinding herself into the ground building a business, only to realize that the life she was creating didn't feel abundant at all. She was successful on paper, but inside, she was exhausted, disconnected, out of alignment. And that's when she began asking a deeper question. What's the point of wealth if it costs me my well-being? And that question, that wake-up call, is what she passes on to you. This chapter is an invitation to dream. Not later, not someday. Now, she guides you to craft a vision for your life, not a fantasy, but a real, grounded vision that reflects your values and desires. She asks, what would your ideal day look like? What kind of work would you do? Who would you spend time with? How would you feel in your body? What kind of money would you earn, and what would you do with it? Because without that vision, you can't make choices that align with it. You'll keep chasing numbers without clarity, spending on things that don't nourish you, saying yes to opportunities that drain you, measuring your worth by someone else's scoreboard. But once you do create that vision, everything begins to shift. Suddenly, you have a compass, a yes and a no that means something. You can ask, does this job support my vision? Does this purchase? Does this relationship? Does this way of spending time feel like a step toward or away from the life I'm building? Kate doesn't suggest that this process is quick or easy, but she promises that it's worth it. Because once you have clarity, your energy becomes potent, focused, liberated. You stop scattering your attention. You stop bleeding money and time into things that don't matter. You stop pretending you're powerless. And when you see the big picture, when you hold that vision close, you begin to make your financial decisions from a place of alignment, not anxiety. You begin to say, this is who I am. This is the life I want. And this is how I choose to use my resources to support that. By the end of this chapter, you will feel less like someone scrambling to keep up and more like someone who is actively creating. You begin to trust that you don't have to do what everyone else is doing, that you don't have to sacrifice joy in the name of success, that you don't have to wait to feel rich until the numbers match. You can feel abundant now by aligning your choices with your vision, your spending with your values, and your attention with what truly matters. This chapter doesn't end with a plan. It ends with a question, a quiet, powerful invitation whispered to the part of you that's ready to rise. What does your rich life look like? Because once you know that answer truly, deeply, you'll stop settling for anything less. Chapter 7. You've got to feel it to heal it. There's a moment when you've come far enough in your healing that the path forward no longer lies in learning more, earning more, or doing more. It lies in letting go. And not just letting go of clutter or bad habits, but of resentment, guilt, shame, and pain. The heavy emotional residue you've been carrying silently for years, sometimes decades. And that's where Kate Northrup meets you in Chapter 7. In the tender space where the only way forward is through. This chapter begins not with a strategy, but with an ache. The ache of all the things you wish you hadn't done, the money you wish you hadn't spent, the chances you didn't take, the debt that still lingers like an echo of every mistake you've judged yourself for. And if you're honest, it's not just about the numbers. It's about how those numbers make you feel, like you failed, like you should have known better, like you're behind, like you're not good enough. Kate looks you in the eyes through the page and says, you have to feel it to heal it. Not because pain is the point, but because the truth is. And until you allow yourself to feel the disappointment, the fear, the regret, you can't release it. You can't make space for a new story while you're still tangled in the old one. Healing requires honesty, and honesty requires courage. So she invites you to pause, to sit down, maybe for the first time, and allow the truth of your emotional experience around money to rise. What do you still carry shame about? Was it overspending? Relying on someone else when you wish you had? Saying yes when you meant no? Not saving enough? Not earning what you could have? Whatever it is, Kate asks you not to run from it. Not this time. Instead, she guides you to name it, to write it, to feel it. And then, most importantly, to forgive yourself. That's the heart of this chapter, forgiveness. Not just because it feels good, but because it frees you. Because as long as you're holding onto guilt, you're punishing yourself over and over for things that already happened. And that punishment keeps you stuck. It keeps you afraid. It keeps you small. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means acknowledging that it did and choosing to love yourself anyway. Choosing to say, I was doing the best I could with what I knew at the time. Choosing to let go of the whip and pick up compassion instead. Kate doesn't stop at self-forgiveness, though. She walks you through the harder step, forgiving others. Whether it's conscious or not, many of us carry anger or disappointment toward the people who shaped our early money stories. Maybe your parents never talked about money and left you clueless. Maybe they modeled scarcity or used money to control you. Maybe they worked all the time and money became the enemy that took them away. Whatever it was, Kate asks you to take a breath and to consider releasing them. Not because they were right, not because what happened was okay, but because carrying anger only keeps you bound. Forgiveness isn't letting them off the hook, it's unhooking yourself from the pain. It's saying, I choose peace, I choose freedom. You might feel resistance here. That's okay. Kate doesn't rush you. She reminds you that forgiveness is a process, a practice, something you return to again and again. You don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to begin. She offers a beautiful ritual writing a letter of forgiveness. One to yourself, one to someone else. You don't have to send it. Just let it pour out. All the words you've never said, all the truth you've been holding in. There's power in putting it on paper. Power in giving your pain a voice, so it doesn't have to scream in silence anymore. And when you finish that letter, Kate asks you to end it with this simple truth. I forgive you. I release you. I set you free. Then, perhaps most importantly, say it again to yourself. Because no matter what you've done or failed to do, you are not broken. You are not too far gone. You are not disqualified from abundance. You are human. You are learning. And you are allowed to begin again. Kate reminds you that healing your relationship with money is not just about earning more or spending less. It's about releasing the emotional weight that's been clogging your ability to receive. It's about clearing the static so your energy can flow freely again. By the end of this chapter, something inside you softens. You realize that so much of your suffering hasn't come from the money itself, but from the judgment you've wrapped around it. From the way you've used money as a measure of your worth. From the stories you've told yourself about what it means to be good, or successful, or lovable. And suddenly, in that softness, you see the truth. You don't have to earn your right to feel good about yourself. You're already worthy, enough already forgiven. This chapter isn't just a step in the process. It's a threshold, a sacred turning point. When you walk through it with open hands and a brave heart, you step into the kind of freedom that no paycheck, no savings account, no external success could ever give you. The freedom to love yourself fully, to forgive what came before, and to begin again, lighter, softer, and far more powerful than you ever realized. Chapter 8. You've got the whole world in your hands. There's a moment after the tears, the releasing, the revelations, when the air feels still and wide. You've done the digging. You've looked at the shadows. You've started paying attention. You've forgiven the past. And now you stand somewhere new. Not because your bank account has magically changed overnight, but because you have. And from here, everything looks different. That's where Kate Northrup meets you in this final chapter. With a gentle smile and an open heart, she says, "You've got the whole world in your hands. You might not have realized it before. In fact, for most of your life, you may have felt the opposite. Small, powerless, reactive, waiting for life to hand you something better. But now you understand that abundance was never something out there. It's been inside you all along. And now you're ready to live from that place." Kate begins this chapter not with more goals, but with grounding. She invites you to ask yourself, what's different now? Not what's perfect, not what's fixed, but what feels lighter. Where do you feel more spacious, more conscious, freer? You've likely started looking at your money. You've tracked it, spoke to it, reconnected with it. But more importantly, you've reconnected with yourself. And from that place, you're ready to build something real, something sustainable, something rooted in truth. This is where the idea of intentional living takes center stage. Because once you know what matters to you, once you have your vision, you can stop defaulting to old habits. You no longer say yes out of guilt, or spend out of scarcity, or hustle out of fear. You start making decisions from alignment, not anxiety. You become the kind of person who lives on purpose. Kate asks you to think about this. What kind of life are you building with every transaction? Yes, every hour you spend. Because money is never just money. It's energy, direction, choice. When you spend $1, you're voting for something. When you say yes to a job, you're investing your life force. So what are you voting for? What are you giving your precious, limited energy to? The old version of you may have answered that unconsciously. The new version of you chooses. Kate also reminds you, this isn't about perfection. There will still be unexpected expenses. Days when you fall back into fear. Moments where you forget. That's okay. This isn't about becoming someone who always gets it right. It's about becoming someone who keeps showing up, who keeps choosing love over fear, who keeps moving in the direction of trust, clarity, and expansion. She encourages you to put systems in place, not rigid structures, but gentle frameworks that support your values. Automatic savings, weekly money check-ins, conscious spending practices. But these aren't here to control you, they're here to support you. Because the more you're supported, the more space you have for creativity, connection, and joy. You start to see that freedom isn't found in some far-off someday when you finally have enough. It's in the way you live today, in the breath you take before spending, in the pause before saying yes, in the quiet knowing that you are enough right now, even as you grow. Kate then turns your attention outward, because now that your cup is filling, you have something to give. This is the part where love expands. She invites you to think about impact. How do you want your money to serve not just you, but the world? Where can your dollars ripple outward into causes, communities, or people who need them? How does generosity fit into your money story, not as an obligation, but as a joyful expression of abundance? You begin to understand that financial empowerment isn't selfish. It's a form of leadership. When good-hearted people have resources, the world changes. When people like you have clarity, agency, and overflow, they build things, healing things. Businesses, art, movements, safer homes, healthier families. Kate plants this seed. What if your money story is part of something bigger than you? And you feel it, the full circle moment. This journey of self-love, clarity, forgiveness, vision, it's not just about paying off debt or earning more. It's about becoming someone who lives with their eyes open and their heart full. Someone who creates a life of meaning. Someone who leaves every space a little better than they found it. By the end of this chapter, the fear feels quieter. The shame has softened. In its place, a new kind of strength. Gentle, grounded, sacred. You're no longer pretending. No longer waiting. You're choosing. And in your hands, not clenched, but open, you hold the truth that's been echoing through every chapter. You are enough. You are powerful. You are free. Your money story isn't over. It's just beginning. And now you have the tools, the trust, and the truth to write a story worth living. So take a breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your heart in your chest. And remember, you've got the whole world in your hands. Don't forget to subscribe